Let's listen.
Welcome back to Man on the Street, everyone, and Man on the Street today is in Fraser, Michigan at Free Play Pinball Arcade. We want to thank Joe for setting us up here with Man on the Street to do the big interview with this man here. Today we're talking with a man who has spent over 2 decades in the evening slot from 7 to midnight on the legendary rock station WRIF here in Detroit. He's one of the most well-liked and loved rock jocks in the history of Detroit radio, and he helped bring WRIF back to the #1 slot in the Detroit radio market from 2013 to 2017. He also fronts the classic rock cover band, very popular band here in the Metro Detroit area, especially on the east side, the band called Chit, C-H-I-T. I'm talking with the wild man himself today, Mr. Sceamin Scott Randall of WRIF. Sceamin Scott, how are you doing today? So happy to have you on Man on the Street.
Hey, thanks so much, Jamie, and it's great being on the show. Spring's just right around the corner, and right now I'm feeling pretty good.
Sceamin Scott, back in 1996, you started at WRIF. As a kid growing up in Warren, Michigan, you had a dream to be a rock jock at that station. You were a fan of Arthur P., the legendary rock jock from that station. Break it down for us. How did you make this dream happen?
No, I had 3 great years of high school radio. Thought I was ready. Went to Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts. A wonderful place for anybody that wants to learn about the industry itself. And then, boom, I was off for First Station, Ohio, Wapakoneta, Ohio. I mean, I could still spell it after all these years. W-A-P-A-K-O-N-E-T-A. It was the home of Neil Armstrong. So did a small stint there, got hired away to Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was Fort Wayne Decatur Station, where it was all oldies, 92.7, all oldies all the time, which I got a huge history of rock and roll itself. Did that for I'd say about 7 years. Came back to Michigan because I had to go out and hone my skills out of state because all the radio legends were here. So there was no openings. You know, I couldn't just, say, "Hey, Arthur, hey, I think you're done. I think you should retire now," because it wouldn't happen, and there's just no room. So it all had to be timing. So I did out of state. Came back probably about 92, I would think. Part-time job back at the Ritz in Roseville, where I did some bar jockeying. And just out of nowhere, Z-Rock came to town in Detroit. And the program director, Joe Bevilacqua, came up to me and said, "Hey, you got a fantastic voice. You ever thought of being in radio?" But actually, yeah, Joe was really good. He goes, "Hey, I got this idea. I need a morning guy." And I was like, man, I'd never had done mornings before, but I wasn't about to turn it down. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So I became the lowest paid morning man in the Motor City, going up against huge talents, Drew and Mike at the time. So I did 3.5 years at Z-Rock. It was WDZR 102.7. The big building was the big 850 building by Oakland Mall, across from I-75. Did that for a stint. I had a ball doing mornings. It was like MASH, the MASH of radio stations. I mean, you had WKRP in Cincinnati, the TV show. This was like combining WKRP and MASH together for a station. Great times. And then got a call from Doug Podell because Z-Rock was changing over to the Bear, and Ted Nugent was coming on to take my job. So Doug Podell called and said, "Hey, come on over to RIF." I said, "Yeah, sure, that'd be great." So he offered me part-time for a year. Within that first year, I would be full-time. And he kept his promise, and 24 years later, here I am. Yeah.
I mentioned before that you front the classic rock cover band here in Detroit, the band Chit. Tell us, when did you form Chit? Who's in the current lineup, and what are the plans for Chit as we head back to live music?
Well, the origins of Chit go way back into time. Like I said, 7 years ago, I was always being brought up by other musicians in the area, all the great local bands, and they'd always have me sing. And some of them approached me and said, "Hey, why don't you have your own band?" I said, "Well, I don't have the time. I'm working all the time at night." He goes, "No, just play once in a while on a Saturday." So Chit was born. Actually, got together with some of the greatest Detroit musicians, from Chris St. Onge to Shane Sanders to Bobby Black, and all helped me put a phenomenal band together at first. And well, went through some changes, lineup change. We've had more drummers than Spinal Tap. They don't explode; they just leave. But current lineup, Joe Evangelista took over, reigning the controls for a while. Joe will be back at some point. It's all up to him. But the current lineup is Eric Blundell, got Hammer and Cameron on the drums, you got the Motor City Drac Riot on guitar, and Eric Blundell on other guitar, and then some cheesy guy does the lead vocals. I don't know who that could be. I attempt to sing. I'm a professional amateur singer, by the way. But as for performing with the lockdown and everything, we had to downsize. So when we go out, Eric and I go out as two pieces of Chit. So, it's fun. We've played local bars on and off throughout the whatever the capacity is or whatever the restrictions are. We've had to form. We're still practicing. Got pretty much a whole new show coming your way. So there's going to be a lot of surprises coming your way as soon as we get unleashed from lockdowns and be able to go out again into the Motor City. We've spread our horizons. We're playing some gigs on the west side, east side. A big show will be July 31st in Lincoln Park, outside in front of about 2,000 people for the some Lincoln Park in the Park Festival. We are warming up for the immortal Crazy Babies, one of the best Ozzy Osbourne tribute bands. We've done this before, and it makes for one hell of a show.
I want to thank Sceamin Scott Randall for joining me today on Man on the Street, and you can check him out Monday through Friday, 7 to midnight on WRIF 101.1 on your FM dial. And go over to Facebook, like the page for his classic rock cover band Chit, C-H-I-T. Find out where they'll be playing as we go back into live music. And we will be back with Man on the Street, more episodes. So everybody just keep rocking, keep banging it out, because we're going to be out there talking to you, the people, because everybody has something to say. So let's listen. We're going to head out of the interview with some footage. I was lucky enough to catch a Chit two-man acoustic show during the lockdown. That's the rules. You can't have a full band, but a two-man acoustic show with our friend here, Sceamin Scott Randall and Eric the Human. Enjoy. We'll see you next time on Man on the Street.
Not music anymore. I like that.
I've got the social horn.
That's right. Oh, shit. Let's blow the social horn.
This is for our usual, when we have the full band. This is our Chit social horn. What we do is everybody raise your glass, whatever you're drinking. We blow the horn and we yell, social, and everybody drinking. You kids, you can do it with your pop too. Okay? Unless you want a shot, because he's buying. Okay? Are you ready? Ready? Social! Everybody drink. Here's to the weekend. It's the weekend.
All your weight falls on me, brings you down. All your weight falls on me, it falls on me.
If you went to high school in 1982, you might remember this one. Mama let the boy play some rock and roll. Jazz is much too crazy. He can play it when he's over. He's too young for the blues. He's still inside his first pair of shoes. He's just a baby. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. You got to have a party. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud.
Da 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 da. Yeah, 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 man on the street.